In September 2023, my brothers and sisters elected me to be a leader in the church, primarily responsible for the watering work. When I heard this news, I felt under a lot of pressure. I thought, the work of the church involves many tasks. I've just started to train and don't have any experience. If I go and follow up on the work of my brothers and sisters, and there are some things I can't handle, what will they think of me? Will they say I lack reason? That I follow up on other people's work without knowing how to do it myself? Because I didn't want them to find out my deficiencies and look down on me, I refused the duty of a leader. I said to the supervisor, "It's better that I work hard at my current duty." The supervisor met and fellowshiped with me. "Your demands of yourself are too high. Everyone has deficiencies, and it is very normal that there are some shortcomings in our work. God's requirements of us are not that high. What God values is our attitude toward our duty. And He looks at whether we put all our effort into our work." When I heard what the supervisor said, I thought that he was right. Everyone has deficiencies and shortcomings. So that's why we all need to train and study more. I should not have refused this duty. Afterward, I reflected on myself. Why did I keep trying to refuse when this duty called? One day during devotionals, I read a passage of God's words.
Almighty God says, "If you want to be devoted in all things and satisfy God's intentions, you cannot do it by just performing one duty. You must accept any commission God gives you. Whether it is to your tastes and matches your interests, or is something you do not enjoy, or have never done before and find difficult, you should accept it and submit. Not only must you accept it, but you must also proactively cooperate, learn the professional skills, and gain experiences and entry. Even if you suffer hardship or fatigue, humiliation or ostracization, you must still perform it with devotion. Only by practicing in this way will you be able to be devoted in all things and satisfy God's intentions. You must perform it as your duty, not as your own enterprise. How should you understand duty? Duty is something that the Creator, God, gives someone to do. This is how people's duties come about. The commission that God gives you is your duty, and it is perfectly natural and justified that you perform your duty as God demands. If it is clear to you that this duty is God's commission, and that this is God's love and God's blessing coming upon you, then you will be able to accept your duty with a God-loving heart, and you will be able to be considerate of God's intentions as you perform your duty, and you will be able to overcome all difficulties to satisfy God. Those who truly expend themselves for God must never refuse God's commission. They must never refuse any duty. No matter what duty God entrusts you with, regardless of what difficulties are involved, you should not refuse it, but accept it. This is the path of practice, which is to practice the truth and be devoted in all things in order to satisfy God. What is the key point here? It is the words, "in all things." All things do not necessarily align with your wishes, and they aren't necessarily always things that you like to do or that you feel pleased to accept. There are some tasks that you are not adept at and must learn to do. There are some that are difficult, others that require you to suffer. But no matter what it is, as long as it is something God has entrusted to you, you should accept it from God. You should take on this duty and put your heart into fulfilling it, so that you can offer up your devotion and satisfy God's intentions. This is the path of practice. No matter what happens, you must always seek the truth. And once you are certain what sort of practice is in line with God's intentions, that is how you should practice. Only by doing this are you practicing the truth, and only in this way can you enter the truth reality.
From God's words, I understood that to satisfy God's intentions, we must accept any duty that comes from God. The duty that calls on us may be one that we have never done before. So we must put in time and effort to learn it. And our flesh needs to suffer more. Or our pride may be hurt because of our deficiencies. But no matter what, we must have a simple and obedient heart. This is the attitude toward duty that a created being should have. I looked at myself in comparison. When I found out I had been elected as a leader in the church, I knew that leaders need to follow up on the various items of work in the church. But I was deficient in all regards. So I worried that if I ran into some problems I didn't know how to handle while following up on the work, and could not point out a solution to my brothers and sisters, everyone would be sure to look down on me and say I was incompetent. Therefore, I found excuses to say that I didn't know how to do many tasks and wouldn't be up to the job. When this duty called, I didn't think of how to show consideration for God's intentions and shoulder my duty. Instead, I wanted to decline it so people wouldn't look down on me. I didn't protect the work of the church at all. I was especially selfish and despicable. God graced me by letting me do the duty of a leader. This was a great opportunity to gain the truth, and I should do my duty well with a proactive and positive attitude. When I understood this, I was willing to turn my incorrect mindset around. Although I had so many deficiencies and shortcomings, I was willing to learn from my brothers and sisters. Therefore, I told the supervisor that I was willing to train to be a leader. Afterward, I read the words of God.
Almighty God says, the first type was those who can be supervisors of the various items of work. The first requirement for them is that they have the ability and caliber to comprehend the truth. This is the minimum requirement. The second requirement is that they carry a burden. This is indispensable. Some people may ask, how come the criteria that talented people should meet in order to be promoted and cultivated don't include understanding the truth, possessing the truth reality, and being able to fear God and shun evil? How come they don't include being able to know God, being able to submit to God, being loyal to God, and being an up-to-standard created being? Have these things been left behind? Tell me, if someone understands the truth and has entered the truth reality and is able to submit to God and is loyal to God and has a God-fearing heart, and moreover knows God, will not resist Him, and is an up-to-standard created being, do they still need to be cultivated? If they truly have achieved all this, isn't the result of cultivation already accomplished? Therefore, the requirements for talented people to be promoted and cultivated don't include these criteria. Because candidates are promoted and cultivated from among human beings who do not understand the truth and who are full of corrupt dispositions, it is therefore impossible for these candidates who are being promoted and cultivated to already have the truth reality, or to already fully submit to God, let alone to already be absolutely loyal to God. And they are certainly further still from knowing God and having a God-fearing heart. The criteria that all kinds of talented people should meet above all in order to be promoted and cultivated are the ones we just mentioned. These are the most realistic and specific ones. Tell me, how can you be someone who is ordinary and normal? How can you, as God says, assume the proper place of a created being, not trying to be some great figure or a superhuman? How should you practice to be an ordinary and normal person? How can this be achieved? Who would like to speak?
First of all, we have to admit that we are ordinary people, very common people, and that there are many things we don't get, don't understand, and can't see through. We must admit that we are corrupt and flawed. After that, we have to have a sincere heart and often come before God to seek.
First, don't give yourself a title and then let it box you in, saying, I am the leader, I am the team head, I am the supervisor, or I'm the most knowledgeable and technically proficient person in the field. Don't be inhibited by your self-appointed title. As soon as this happens, it will bind you tightly. Your words and actions will be affected by it, as will your normal thinking and judgment. You must free yourself from the constraints of this status. First, step down from the position of this official title and assume the position of an ordinary person. Your mindset will then become somewhat normal. You also have to admit, I don't know how to do this, and I don't understand that. I have to do some research and studying. Or, I've never experienced this, so I don't know what to do. When you can say what you're really thinking and speak honestly like this, you will be possessed of normal reason. If you allow others to know the real you, they will have a normal view of you, and you will not have to put on a facade. You'll no longer feel heavily pressured, and you'll be able to communicate with others normally. Living like this is free and easy. Anyone who feels life is too exhausting has only themselves to blame. Don't pretend or conceal anything. First, open up about what you're thinking in your heart and your true thoughts, so that everyone is aware of them and understands them. In this way, your concerns, as well as the barriers and suspicions between you and others, will all be eliminated. In addition, there's something else that's binding you too, which is that you always consider yourself the head of the team, a leader or a worker, someone with a title, with status and standing. If you then say you don't understand this and are incapable of doing that, isn't that demeaning yourself? When you let go of these fetters in your heart, when you stop thinking of yourself as a leader or a worker, And when you stop thinking you're better than other people and instead feel that you're an ordinary person, the same as everyone else, and that there are some areas in which you're inferior to others, then when you fellowship on the truth and work-related matters with this mindset, both the results and the atmosphere will be different.
From God's words, I understood the principles of the house of God in promoting and cultivating people. It is not the case that only people who have the truth reality or can do all the various items of work can be promoted and cultivated to be leaders. Instead, as long as you have the ability to comprehend the truth, have decent humanity, bear a burden in doing your duty, and are willing to learn even if you have no experience, you can be cultivated. In addition, if you are elected to be a leader, you must not put yourself on a pedestal, and you should put yourself in the correct position and admit that you are just an ordinary person. And that whatever the work, you were not born being able to do it. When you encounter things you don't know how to do or don't understand, you can seek from your brothers and sisters. I remember that when I first started training to water newcomers, I didn't know how to do the work. But at the time, I realized that watering newcomers is training in how to use the truth to resolve problems, which was beneficial to my life entry. And so, I had the motivation to do my duty well. When I trained together with my brothers and sisters, bit by bit, after a while, I was also able to solve some problems. I realized that no matter what the work is, it is not the case that you can only do it once you know how to do it and understand it. You always need to undergo a process of study and training. However, I was governed by my arrogant disposition and thought that if I was a leader in the church, then I had to understand more than others and be better at the work than others. Only in this way would I be qualified to go and follow up on the work of other people. I also thought that if I couldn't do it or didn't understand it myself, then other people would definitely look down on me. And so I refused the duty. I didn't know the true measure of myself. I was too lacking in reason. Actually, God's requirements of us are not high, merely to be ordinary people and calmly face our shortcomings, to actively seek help from brothers and sisters in regard to things we don't understand, and to seek the truth to compensate for our deficiencies. If we train gradually in this way, our progress will be faster. Once I understood this, I was willing to let go of the fallacious view that I'm a leader, I have to be better than others and understand more than others, and practice being an honest person. I accepted the duty of a leader from deep in my heart. To start off with, I was only responsible for the church that I was in. I was relatively familiar with the personnel and work of the church. But not long after, the supervisor asked me to take on responsibility for the work of several more churches. I thought to myself, the work capability of the brothers and sisters in these churches is very good. They have believed in God for longer than me. I am not as good as them. If I can't do lots of things when I follow up on their work, what will they think of me? Will they look down on me? I sent a message to the supervisor saying that I wasn't up to it and couldn't do it. The supervisor asked me to try training and see. Later, I remembered a passage of God's words I had read before.
Almighty God says, "For all who perform a duty, no matter how profound or shallow their understanding of the truth is, the simplest practice for entering into the truth reality is to think of the interests of God's house at every turn, letting go of their selfish desires, personal intents, motives, pride, and status, and putting the interests of God's house first. This is the least they should do. If a person who performs a duty cannot even do this much, then how can they be said to be performing their duty? That is not performing one's duty. You should first think of the interests of God's house, be considerate of God's intentions, and take the work of the church into account. Put these things first and foremost. Only after that can you think about the stability of your status or how others regard you. Divide it into 2 steps, making a bit of a compromise. Don't you feel this makes things a little easier? If you practice like this for a while, you will come to feel that satisfying God is not a difficult thing. Furthermore, if you can fulfill your responsibilities, fulfill your obligations and duty, set aside your selfish desires, intents, and motives, show consideration for God's intentions, and put the interests of God's house, the work of the church, and the duty that you are supposed to perform first. Then, after experiencing like this for a while, you will feel that conducting yourself in this way is good, that people should live in an honest and above-board manner, and that they shouldn't lead a spineless, sordid, base existence, but rather they should be upstanding and just. You will feel that this is the image a person ought to live out. Gradually, your desire to satisfy your own interests will lessen.
While pondering God's words, I understood that in order to do my duty well, I had to let go of my own pride and status and prioritize the interests of the house of God at every turn. Only this would satisfy God. This duty calling upon me was God exalting me, prompting me to seek the truth more and walk the path of pursuing the truth. I thought of how tense the situation in Myanmar is, with constant war. I didn't know how long I would be able to do my duty. Now that I had the chance to do a duty, I should cherish it carefully, and I couldn't decline it because I was worried about what others would think of me. No matter what problems would be exposed in my duty next, I should calmly face up to my own shortcomings. When I thought about it this way, my heart felt a bit more at ease. One day, I met the brother and sister I was working with and discussed the upcoming work. I opened up to the 2 of them and said, I have many deficiencies and can't do a lot of the tasks, so we need to work together. As I opened my mouth to say this, my face was bright red. Although I felt that I had lost some face, my heart felt very at ease after admitting my own deficiencies to them and speaking from the heart. My brother and sister didn't look down on me and were willing to work together with me to do the work well. One day, I read another passage of God's words and gained some understanding of the root cause of me refusing my duty.
Almighty God says, instead of seeking the truth, most people resort to petty tricks. They place great importance on their own interests, pride, and their place or standing in other people's minds. These are the only things they cherish. They cling to these things with an iron grip and regard them as their very life. As for how God views and treats these things, they don't concern themselves with that. They first consider whether they are the boss of the group, whether they can secure a position in which they're highly regarded by others, and whether anyone listens to what they say. They first set about occupying that position. Nearly all people, when they are in a group, look for this kind of position, for this kind of opportunity. If they're highly capable, of course, they try to occupy the top spot. If they're just average, they still try to hold a prominent position in the group. And if they're part of the lower ranks in the group, being of average caliber and ability, they also try to make others hold them in high regard. They can't let others look down on them. These people's pride and dignity are where they draw the line. They think they must hold on to these things. Even if they lose their integrity, or God is displeased with them and doesn't recognize them, they still have to strive for their pride and status. They must avoid humiliation at all costs. This is a satanic disposition, and yet they don't realize this. They think they can't lose what little pride they have left. They don't know that only when these superficial things are completely relinquished and abandoned will they become real people, and that if they guard as their life these things that should be discarded, their life will be lost. They just don't know what is at stake. Therefore, in whatever they do, they always hold something back. They always act for the sake of protecting their own pride and status, and they put these things first. They speak and make fallacious arguments only for their own sake. They'll do anything for themselves. They rush to participate in anything that will make them look good, wanting others to know about their involvement in it. It might not actually have anything to do with them, but they never want to be left behind. They're always afraid others will look down on them. They're always fearful that other people will say they're nothings, that they aren't capable of anything, that they have no skills. Is this all not driven by a satanic disposition? When you are able to let go of things like pride and status, you will be much more relaxed and freer. You will have set foot on the path to being an honest person. But for many, this is not easy to achieve. When people encounter something that would allow them to step into the spotlight, for example, they all scramble to the front. They like being in the spotlight. The more they're in it, the better. They're afraid of not being in the spotlight enough and will pay any price for the chance to step into it. And is this not all driven by a satanic disposition? This is a satanic disposition. So you step into the spotlight. What then? People think highly of you. So what? They idolize you. And? Can this prove you have the truth reality? There isn't any value in this. When you can overcome pride, vanity, status, and other people's high regard, when you become indifferent to these things and no longer think they're so important, and these things no longer sway your thoughts and behavior, much less how you do your duty, then the results you get in your duty will keep improving, and there will be less and less impurity in your performance of it.
After reading the words of God, I understood that people all treasure status, and they consider their own reputation and status at every turn in everything they do. I thought back to the start, when I had been elected as a leader in the church. Because I had just started training and had many deficiencies, I was afraid that if I followed up on the work of my brothers and sisters, while there were many things I didn't know how to do, I would appear really incompetent. So that people wouldn't look down on me, I refused my duty again and again. That I was able to train to be a leader was God's exaltation of me. God hoped that I could embark on the path of pursuing the truth and gradually resolve my own corrupt dispositions. However, I didn't appreciate the favor and kept trying to decline my duty in order to protect my face. This was rebelling against God. Through these years, I had enjoyed the watering and provision of so many of God's words. But when the work of the church required me to do it, I didn't think about how to fulfill my responsibilities or how to repay God's grace. I truly was too lacking in humanity. Actually, ever since I became a leader, I gradually equipped myself with some truths in the area of discernment and trained to use the truth to resolve problems. As a leader, I experienced many things and had many opportunities to obtain the truth. All these were real gains. If I didn't serve as a leader and didn't follow up on the work of others, then my own deficiencies wouldn't be exposed and I would save face. However, I wouldn't ultimately obtain the truth, and my dispositions wouldn't change. Would it not be all empty in the end? Ultimately, I would only lose my chance of salvation and ruin myself. It is scary to think about. Later, I was able to do my duty normally, without being so constrained by face. Once, I went to a church to attend one of their gatherings. A sister expressed clear ideas in communicating about the work, and I wanted to add to them. However, because I felt that my sister had spoken so well and so comprehensively, I didn't say anything. I thought to myself, if I come here and don't give a bit of advice, what will my brothers and sisters think of me? Will they not think I'm really useless and lacking in any work capability? When I thought this, I felt a bit embarrassed and thought that my brothers and sisters had certainly seen through me. So I didn't want to attend their gatherings anymore. During those days, I didn't follow up on or learn about their work. At the time, I felt somewhat self-reproachful. I didn't follow up on the work because I was afraid of the brothers and sisters looking down on me. Isn't this a dereliction of duty? If I don't follow up on the work for a long time, I will definitely lose this duty and lose many opportunities to obtain the truth. I cannot constantly consider what other people think of me. However highly people esteem me, it is of no use. The key thing is what God thinks of me, and that is most important. Therefore, I let go of my pride and went to follow up on the work. Later, I made a plan for myself, outlining which churches I would follow up on in 1 week and which aspects of the work I would follow up on. To start off with, I was very nervous. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to express myself well and my brothers and sisters would look down on me. Whenever this happened, I would calm down and pray to God, asking God to keep me from being constrained by face. When I corrected my mindset, I was able to calm my heart and follow up on the work normally. In addition, through following up on the work, I discovered that the brothers and sisters all had some strengths. And through these, I was able to make up for my weaknesses. Sometimes, if I ran into a problem that I couldn't penetrate when following up on the work, I would bring it up with them directly. I still can't penetrate this problem, so I'll seek later. By practicing in this way, my heart felt very at ease. That I was able to gain this slight understanding and attain this small change is a result achieved by the words of God. Thank God.